How do you know when it's time to stop looking for another solution and start asking a different question?
Welcome to The Dog Who Asked for More, the podcast for dog parents navigating the messy, complicated parts of life with a dog. Here you'll gain confidence in your decisions, deepen your connection with your dog, and finally feel seen in something you've never been able to say out loud.
I'm Em, dog mom, retired vet tech, and canine nutritionist. And if you've ever stood in a pet store, scrolled through supplement recommendations online, or looked at a label and thought, how am I supposed to know what's actually worth buying? This episode is for you. In this conversation with Angela, we go deep into supplements, ingredients, bioavailability, and why two products that can look similar on the label can have two very different effects on your dog. Because the challenge isn't finding more options. Most of us already have plenty of those. The challenge is figuring out which one deserves a place in your dog's bowl. Angela, your own health journey is what eventually led you into this work. Can you give me a short version of what changed your perspective on health and healing?
Yes. So I had already removed toxins from my life. I had changed my diet. I had learned about artificial fragrance. My whole career, I was a journalist that taught people how to live a more natural lifestyle. I had a magazine, a radio show, a TV show. I was a very stressed out entrepreneur. And I was diagnosed with rheumatoid arthritis. They prescribed Humira. I looked up Humira because I already knew to do that. It's prescribed for all autoimmune diseases and linked to lymphoma. So I was like, no, thank you. Let me see out there what I could take naturally. I was already an herbalist, knew a little bit about some mushrooms, and that's when I was introduced to a full extract of cannabis oil, which is also short called FICO. It's also called RSO, Rick Simpson oil. I got a bottle from a trusted source, and I'll never forget putting that first dropper in my mouth. I had some arthritis pain in my hands, but I didn't know that I was in that much pain until I took that tincture, and I literally felt my shoulders drop and, oh, yeah, this is what it feels like to not be in pain. And I was like, what the hell is this? Why is this illegal? I lived in Florida at the time. I wasn't high. I felt so good. My stress and anxiety levels went way down. I was like, this is magic. Why is this being kept from us? So I started to do the deep dive, started to report on it. I started to go to conventions. I'd hear one story after another. And I just thought to myself, it's inhumane that we are keeping this medicine from people, much less animals. And I was like, this is what I'm going to do next. I am going to throw myself into this industry and figure out how I can help get this medicine into more hands. And that's what I did. I sold my business. I threw myself into the industry. I hired the best consultant that there was, and I traveled the world with him. I learned how to source seeds, strains, how to grow it, how to extract it, what parts are medicinal. And then in 2016, I was invited to the University of Vermont School of Medicine's program to study cannabis for its therapeutic uses in biology. And that's where I learned about the endocannabinoid system and that all mammals have it, including dogs. And dogs specifically have already been proved that they have more receptors than we do, which is why they're more sensitive to the medicine, but that it's so good for them. I also had a rescue farm where I rescued farm animals and old dogs with problems. I also had a groom shop where we did boarding and daycare. 85% of those dogs coming through my shop were all suffering, whether it was pain or allergies, skin issues. The majority of the people had already given up on going to the vet because it's expensive. Nothing ever works. They keep changing the food. They're never getting better. I would wean them off all of the unnecessary pharmaceuticals, change their diet to a real food diet. And every single dog that came through, I was able to bring them back to homeostasis. And I'm talking 16-year-olds with grand mal seizures and cancer. Full spectrum hemp extract and medicinal mushroom dual extracts will help almost anything and everything. The reason that I say that is because it's literally interacting directly with the endocannabinoid system. It's responsible for keeping us balanced and at homeostasis. So if I have a respiratory issue and I ignore the endocannabinoid system, I'm never going to get completely back to normal because I'm not addressing this master system.
Tell me a brief definition of endocannabinoid.
So the endocannabinoid system is this master system that every mammal has. Fish have it, lizards have it, all mammals have it. And it is a system that has receptors all over the place, all over our skin, our organs, our spinal cord, our central nervous system. They're everywhere, all through our gut. They've actually changed the name of it to the endocannabinoid because they've incorporated the entire gut microbiome as part of the endocannabinoid system, which totally makes sense to me, right? Because we know that
Me
our
too.
immune system lives in our gut. So that makes a lot of sense to me. But we produce something called endocannabinoids. And a lot of times we get those endocannabinoids for the first time from our mother's breast milk. So if we as a human weren't breastfed or a dog wasn't properly breastfed by its mother, it could have an endocannabinoid deficiency as a puppy. So when we don't produce these endocannabinoid, things go wrong. The good thing is that the cannabis plant, the hemp plant, creates phytocannabinoids, which are like our endocannabinoids. So when we take the extracts, those phytocannabinoids act like the endocannabinoids, fix the deficiencies, and we're back to normal. We've known about cannabis medicine for a very long time. As a matter of fact, in 1992, the United States government had a patent on it as a neuroprotectant and antioxidant. Bet you didn't know that. Yet, at the same time, it's being kept from us, and it's illegal, and we can't get it, and it's still under threat. 2018, the Farm Bill made a full-spectrum hemp extract with less than 0.03% THC legal in the entire country. And now, last November, they banned it again. Even though we've got farmers and extractors and all of these people in place, and they're literally trying to rip the rug from underneath us again and take away your right to this completely safe, potent medicine that will help just about anybody. But that's why. People are no longer taking pain meds or opioids. They're not even drinking as much alcohol anymore. Every time a state becomes legal, Big Pharma loses 1.5 to 2% of their revenue, which is like $20 million, $50 million. Pfizer in 2023 made $300.7 billion, and they don't want to lose any of that. So that's why we're being banned again.
It's a very interesting thing to watch from the outside.
I got my first FDA letter last year. I make a pet product. They made me take down all of my educational blogs. You can't go onto my site and search arthritis and find what works because I'm not allowed to say the word arthritis or allergies or cancer. My video will be taken down. I literally can't speak like a human being about what I do. People can say I'm crazy. No, I know way too much. I know how they research the drugs that are out there. They don't care about your animal. They're considered property. There's no repercussions for a pharmaceutical drug killing your dog. Right now, Librela has over 17,000 adverse events. The FDA has written a letter to veterinarians warning them about this drug. It has killed and harmed so many dogs and cats with Silencia, and it's still being prescribed every freaking day. I've interviewed so many pet parents who've lost their dogs to this horrible drug, so I always bring it up in a podcast because I want everybody to know about it. This dog that I brought her back to homeostasis at age 16, got rid of her MCT, her lameness, she was doing great, and then she'd get up and go to the water bowl and not drink over and over and over again. You forget how to eat and drink. That's how you die from Alzheimer's. And I didn't know that. That's why I was ending up with so many of these dogs at my rescue, because when you go in with a dog that's experiencing dementia, they go, there's nothing we can do. We can put them down. What? I'm like, no, I'll take them. Watch what I can do. Watch what I can do with this old ass dog on all these medications. I can detox them. I can rebuild their gut, feed them a real food and give them real plant and mushroom medicine and bring them back to homeostasis, back to normal. When I did this research, we hired a retired veterinarian. He's been doing this for 15 years for pharmaceutical companies. He informed us that all they have to do is prove that for 3 months, for 90 days, the dog's health doesn't change. They don't ever have to prove that what they're claiming this drug does actually does it. So they take it with young dogs. Ridgeland Beagles, oftentimes is where it is. So they take young, healthy dogs and they give them this drug for 3 months and go, everybody's doing fine. Drugs like Apoquil, Cytopoint, and even Librela and Silencia, they did the 3-month trial, but they did it more than once. Why'd they do that? Because they didn't get the results that they wanted. They had dogs die or have a bad reaction. So they just do it again until they get a more positive response or change the formula a little bit. So the first time I met this vet, he was dying to meet me because he wanted to see this witch who created this formula that actually did something, because it was the first time in his 15-year career that he saw something actually do what we said it would do. I would never put anything in or on my pet without researching the hell out of it to make sure that it's safe. Remember, every pharmaceutical drug is based on a food, plant, or mushroom that did the trick, but you can't patent those and make billions of dollars. So they go into a lab and recreate it. When the body gets that pharmaceutical, it may have the action, it may block the pain, it may stop the itch. But all of the other ingredients that are in it, including the active compound, the body doesn't recognize. The liver doesn't recognize. So it disrupts the gut. The liver has to work overtime. And if you have an old dog with lumps and bumps on it, that's where the liver is storing those chemicals that it doesn't know what to do with. So that's why old dogs have lumps and bumps all over them. And the worst thing you could do is cut one of those open, because it's literally where the liver is storing all these toxins that it needs to remove from the body's system. Isn't that crazy?
That is crazy. I did not know that. So that's actually pretty helpful, because Fitz, he's 8.5, has recently gotten a bump. It's about, I would say, 2 or 3 inches long in his pelvic area. And I just keep an eye on it. I was a vet tech for a while, so I keep an eye on all that stuff. But I try very hard, especially now that we've definitely moved over to the more natural solutions, to try to not overload him with things and not have a surgery if he doesn't need it and all the things. So it's
What
very
kind of dog is he?
interesting. He's a mutt. He's a whole bunch of different things.
Like a big
but
dog?
He's about 60 pounds. Yeah.
So he's about to be a senior. And that's why we need to completely support their immune system, because it's not working as well as it used to, because now he's a 60-year-old man. Supporting them with a full spectrum hemp extract every day and some dual medicinal mushroom extracts every day is literally, that's all it's doing, is helping its immune system to fight off anything, to keep that bump where it is. But yeah, the worst thing you could do is put an old dog under anesthesia. When you put them under anesthesia, you're literally putting their immune system offline. So I always love to tell the story of Nina, my Doberman with osteosarcoma. I didn't amputate her leg because she was a geriatric Doberman. And one of my favorite veterinarians taught me this lesson and said, when you put her under anesthesia, her immune system will be put offline. And it's exactly what happened. After 2 years, I had to amputate the leg because her foot was swelling because it was blocking something in there. So I finally had to do it. And sure enough, 4 months later, she was dead. Because what do you think happens when that body comes out of anesthesia? What do you think the immune system is now working on? It's working on that arm that just got cut off. And that's when the cancer goes, woohoo, and goes crazy. Before that, her immune system was keeping that cancer from spreading. And in 9 large breed dogs gets just osteosarcoma. Shouldn't we be recommending giving a full spectrum hemp extract sooner, like at a year old? And they said at 8 weeks. If you've got a large breed dog, 1 in 4 dogs gets cancer now. If you got a dog that's prone to certain diseases like Dobermans, Rottweilers, German Shepherds, then start giving it to them early, because all you're doing is supporting their body's ability to keep them healthy. That's it.
Give me 3 benefits that you see from hemp and from mushrooms in dogs when you give these dosages.
Cannabis, you want to make sure that it's a full spectrum and that it has a certificate of analysis proving that it's not only a full spectrum, meaning it has that CBD, some of the other cannabinoids, and a little bit of that THC, and that it's free of contaminants. The biggest thing that cannabis does, or hemp, is that it gets rid of inflammation. Inflammation is the basis of every problem and ailment, every single one. And it doesn't suppress the immune system. So it works with the immune system to get rid of inflammation in your body. Medicinal mushrooms pair amazing with a full spectrum hemp extract. Medicinal mushroom extracts are not only packed with vitamins and minerals that we're depleted in, but the beta glucans and the compounds that are in them are magic, and they're what most medication is based off of. So instead of just getting the one compound that's replicated by somebody in a lab to make a pharmaceutical drug, you get that full everything that's in it. So they're an incredible functional food. They're an incredible functional medicine. Chaga, for instance, has more antioxidants than anything else. So screw your blueberries, man. Go take that chaga extract because it's got nothing on it. Shiitake, for instance, has more B vitamins than anything after nutritional yeast, liver. Shiitake mushrooms are third with B vitamins. Vitamin D, which all of us are lacking in if they're grown right in the right conditions because they need sunshine, packed with vitamin D. They have so many medicinal compounds in them that are so good for us. We really should be taking them every day.
Let's talk a little bit about bioavailability, because this is a conversation I love to have, because when I learned about what bioavailability was, and you've mentioned a couple of times about replicating and making it have the same results but not being a natural product, I know that bioavailability plays into that. So let's visit about what bioavailability is and why natural over created is such a big difference.
Bioavailability means what is your body getting to absorb and use whatever you're giving it. So what I said earlier, where when you give them that drug, the body doesn't recognize it. So even though it still has that action where it stops the itch or it stops the pain, it's causing all kinds of other issues because the body has to work overtime going, what is this? What am I supposed to do with it? And it's the liver that takes the major hit. Bioavailable means, and I love that you're asking this question because this is the questions I asked in the beginning, especially when it came to mushrooms. Like, why is every mushroom product a powder? Why is something that's 70 to 80% water, is it in a dried powder? It's in a dried powder because Angie went down the rabbit hole. It's in a powder because it's coming from China. It's a lot cheaper to send a liquid extract that has been dried to send that over than liquid barrels, which would be a lot more expensive. So that's why they're doing it. It's also, they do something called spray drying where they put it through a gun and there's other things that get put in that gun to bulk it and fluff it. So you're not getting just mushroom compound. You're getting things like microcrystalline cellulose, silicon dioxide. Both of those, microcrystalline cellulose is a fancy word for sawdust, wood pulp. They use it to fill the capsules all the way up. They use things to help the machinery work better. These are additives, and the easiest way to go, nope, is when you see, first of all, if it's in plastic, that's a sign, especially if it's in a liquid tincture or something that's all natural. Yep, nope. But they have something called inactive or other ingredients. And if you see anything other than a safe preservative and maybe some water, put it back because you're going to find out. Silicon dioxide, fancy word for sand. Both wood pulp and sand are disruptive to the gut, and we shouldn't be giving them to our pets in a little capsule every single day or scoop of powder every single day. If I am water and mushrooms are water and I put a powder on my skin, it's not absorbing into my skin. I could even wet it and it's not going to absorb into my skin. That's not bioavailable. That's a waste of money. That's not made right. Most supplements are crap. They're completely unregulated. They don't even do a certificate of analysis. That's the only way to prove that it's safe. The majority don't, and people buy them all the day long.
Well, we're definitely going to have you come back and really go down the supplement hole the next time we have a conversation, because this is a big one. This was a huge revelation for me. This is something that I help people with all the time because I learned so much. But I'm going to ask you one more question before we do our wrap up. And that is, you keep saying tincture. And as somebody who feeds naturally, I know that like we don't do oils, seed oils, all the kinds of stuff like that. So there's a big difference between what a tincture is and what an oil is. And would you please explain the difference and why you use a tincture versus an oil?
I love that you're also saying this because I forgot one of the things that upset me the most about the industry is alcohol. So a tincture is a liquid concoction of herbs and mushrooms. The thing is that most of them are put in alcohol because you use alcohol as an extraction. It extracts out those hard to get compounds, especially out of mushrooms. But I take it back out because dogs and cats do not have the enzymes that we do to break down alcohol, which means it's a lot more detrimental to them. Many people will have a definition of what a tincture is. A formal herbalist would say it's an alcohol extraction, liquid extraction, but a tincture is usually always a liquid instead of being dried, which, just like food, is another processing step, which every time you do a processing step, you lose some of the good stuff.
Before we wrap up, I want to pause for something I call answering the ask. This is a moment where we shift out of trying to fix things and into understanding what's actually going on. Because a lot of the time, the hardest part isn't doing more, it's realizing what we might be missing. Can you share a story about a dog who is still struggling despite what its people were trying so hard to help them with? And what changed once they started looking at that dog's situation differently?
Oh, I love this question because this is why I'm on my supplement soapbox. I used to do consultations. I don't do them anymore, but I'm always helping vets and coaches and people with their pets. And literally, I'm like, what's going on? They're feeding them the right diet. The supplement load isn't bad. I don't understand why this dog is still not at homeostasis. And that's when I started reading those other ingredients or inactive ingredients. There's some really good holistic brands that have some really good products and really bad products. I started to read and understand how everything was made, what every single ingredient was, and I would always find the culprit in that other or inactive ingredients. It's as simple as I'm giving him this tincture and it has alcohol in it. And the alcohol is what's not allowing this animal to get back to homeostasis. That's literally where I end up every time. I feel like I'm in the dog pet parent 2.0. They're doing everything right. They might be overdoing it on supplements. Just yesterday, I helped a woman. She's giving her dog My Ease every day, which has turmeric extract in it, and a product that has 95 to 97 curcuminoids and is having liver issues. That's the culprit. Because turmeric in its root form, dried in a powder, put on your dog's food, has 2 to 5% curcuminoids. An extract, 3 to 20%, depending on if it's a 20 to 1, a 10 to 1, a 1 to 1. And then this product had 95 to 97% curcuminoids. That damages your liver. Not only that, the brand is an Ayurvedic brand. So I even went into my chat and said, I'm sorry, I don't remember traditional Chinese medicine or Ayurvedic medicine ever isolating anything. Is that true? Absolutely not. They don't ever isolate. Mother Nature provides us with all the food and medicine that we need. Stop effing with it. Because we know the curcuminoids are the active ingredient, we're going to pull those out and concentrate them? No, that's not how nature works. If you just eat the turmeric or take its extract, the compounds, they're not very bioavailable. So add pepper to it, which we've heard. Pepper's an irritant to animals. Do not add pepper. And in Ayurvedic medicine, you add ginger. Makes it more bioavailable. But now this product, not only is it 95 to 97%, it also has pepper in it. So now we've even made the 95 to 97% even more bioavailable. That's not natural. That's not normal. And here it is, a person who is anti-pharmaceutical drugs, feeding their dog the raw diet or cooking themselves, and then putting this crap on top and can't figure out why their dog is doing so bad. There it is, found it. Now this is what I do all day long now. As I go, show me everything. And sometimes they won't give me a brand or whatever. I'm like, get rid of that Zesty Paws, get rid of that Cosequin, get rid of that Dasaquin. Those are all a whole bunch of isolates thrown in together. And all of those isolates, it's all white powder, all coming from China. And that's what the majority of supplements are. Inactive isolates combined, because you learned what glucosamine was. So you're like, yeah, that's good. And it's food form. Not all by itself. Go crush up some eggshells instead. That's a million times better.
Yeah, it's wild to me. I had a vet on recently that talked about how it's not even effective and it's just marketed all the time, left and right. Like it's this like miracle drug, but it actually doesn't do anything.
It is doing something. It's not inactive. That's what I want people to understand. It's disrupting things. It's making the liver and the detox systems have to work harder to figure out what it is and how to get it the hell out.
If the person listening feels like they've tried everything and they still don't feel clear about what's going on with their dog, what would you like them to sit with or try after this conversation?
I start with the food. I always start with everything you're putting in and on them. Look at the food and then look at your supplements. More is not better. Make sure that they don't have any of those weird ingredients or inactive ingredients. But I always like to start with food. When we go through this as a human and you go see a naturopathic doctor, they're going to test your poop, your pee, your blood, all of that to see what's going on. But we also do something called an elimination diet, where we literally pull back on everything that we're doing, do a nice, healthy, bland, often cooling protein or vegetable diet so that we're not adding any more heat or inflammation to the body, and then slowly reintroducing things back in and watching. When I say figure out the food part, a lot of times I have people that are feeding freeze-dried. That's not raw. Or an HPP food. That's not raw. The other big culprit is those that are cooking for their animal. They've got some powder vitamin and mineral supplement that they throw on top because the holistic veterinarian that taught them how to cook food says to do this. It's all synthetic vitamins and minerals. Synthetic vitamins and minerals are the worst culprit, and they are everywhere. And people don't even know the difference between recognizing real folate versus folic acid. I have a chart, by the way, that I made if you want it to offer as a download. It's literally the real name of the vitamin, the fake name of the vitamin, what the side effect of the fake vitamin, and then how to get that vitamin from plants and mushrooms or from food instead of having to throw a powder on. We should be getting all our vitamins and minerals from food, plants, and mushrooms, and they provide it all.
Absolutely. We will put a link to that in the episode description so that you can download your own copy of that so you can take a look at all of this incredible information that Angela has given us. Tell everyone how they can find you and connect with you.
You bet. They can do it on my website, angelaardolino.com. My podcast is called Your Natural Dog Podcast. And then my formulations are under the brand CBD Dog Health, or my full spectrum formulations, and Myco Dog are my mushroom and adaptogen tinctures and salves and some treats.
What I kept coming back to during this conversation is how easy it is to assume that more automatically means better support. Another supplement, another powder, another recommendation, another thing to add. But sometimes clarity comes from simplifying instead of adding more, from understanding what you're giving and why you're giving it, and whether it's actually helping the dog in front of you. If you'd like to learn more about Angela's work, I'll put a few links in the show notes. And if nutrition, supplements, and ingredient choices are areas where you're looking for more clarity, you can also grab my free Feeding the Dog in Front of You guide linked below. So be kind, spread joy, and remember, doing more and helping more aren't always the same thing.